Okay, the last few years have been trying for my husband and I. We've experienced 4 miscarriages through
Oh,
2019 and 20. And
oh,
while this brought us closer together, um, we've grown closer together through the pain. I picked up your boundary books during this time as I was struggling, and it helped open my eyes to the reality that I was raised by a narcissistic father and an emotionally unavailable mother
did you
who
say,
don't
did you
respect me
say,
or my husband as adults.
hold on. So, can you say that again? You were what?
Um, Raised by a narcissistic father and an emotionally unavailable mother.
Okay, raised, RAISED.
Yes.
Okay, I got it. I thought you said something else, but go ahead. You were raised by, you grew up
Okay.
with problematic parents. We'll put it that way.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I guess I didn't really realize it until I was an adult. I had, my rose colored glasses on as a child and thought everything was perfect until I experienced some trauma as an adult. And then looking back, realized everything wasn't sunshine and rainbows growing up.
Yeah.
And it isn't as an adult either. And they really just disrespected my husband and I as adults, our personal boundaries going through this. I understand that they don't understand what we're going through, but we just constantly feel judged and just
How do
the
they judge
judgment and
you?
their negativity.
How do they judge you? What do they say?
Just really, they don't allow us to have opinions of our own. They
What do
always
they
know what's
say?
best for us or what's better.
What I need an example. What do they say? What does it look like? Let me experience it.
Um, so many. Let me pick a good example. Just what to do with our career. For example, the year after my husband and I got married, he worked out of town for the first 9 months of the first year we were married. And at that point, we had made a decision to buy an RV and travel for his career. And, my father said, no, you can't do that. That's no way to live. Don't, my daughter can't be trailer trash. If you do that, I will
Wow.
never talk to you again. Well, we
What?
had to make this decision for us, so we did it. And
Good for
we
you.
moved to Georgia for about 3 years. Yeah. And it lasted, I don't know, about 3 months. He didn't talk to me. And then he eventually came around and it was like nothing happened. But that's the way my father is. He always has his temper
Okay.
tantrums. And when someone does something he doesn't like, they get the silent treatment. He hasn't talked to his own sister for over 20 years.
Wow. Well, let me tell you one thing.
And as of recently. Mhm.
I'm gonna give you a verse.
Okay.
Proverbs 19:19. You might think about this sometimes. It's not always the right one to apply. Sometimes you do want to talk to them, but it says this: Do not rescue an angry man, lest you have to do it again tomorrow. See, people throw temper tantrums and people give in to them, and then they're going to have to do it again. It just keeps going over and over and over. What you did was when he threw the temper tantrum and said, "You can't do this. I'll never," you went ahead and kept your boundary and kept your limit, and then he came back, because he's going to suffer the loss if he doesn't. But
Hmm.
congratulations on not letting your marriage be controlled by the previous generation. That is a very, very, very strong principle in God's created order, that leaving and cleaving means that you are now the governing unit, you and your husband. And so, congratulations that you're not being controlled.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, give me the question.
So the question is, um, right now there's a strain with my family. I have two older brothers, my mother and my father. My father hasn't talked to me for the last 6 months because of one of my bad days during the depression and experience from the miscarriages. They were playing some phone games, and one day I just had enough. Enough was enough, and I told them, guys, this is enough. My husband quit his job so we can spend some time together to recover from this, and we need the time together. And they would just call multiple times a day and show up unannounced. And so I tried to put my foot down and set that boundary. And since that day, my father hasn't talked to me. I spoke to my mother about a month ago and said, "Oh, what's going on? Am I on dad's, excuse my French, but am I on dad's shit list now or what?" And she assured me, "No, honey, you're daddy's little girl. We're just trying to give you your space." But in the meantime, he hasn't responded to a text message or a call or anything like that during that time. And I'm fine. I think my life is better without the relationships, but I'm still holding on to this guilt and shame of hurting their feelings that I can't move forward, working on and
Okay.
achieving my goals because that guilt and shame is holding me back. So that's
So
where I
what's the
am now. That's
question?
the big issue.
What do you
Is
do with
how
the
to
guilt and
free
the
myself
shame?
from the guilt and shame of ending that relationship. And I guess the second part of how to
Well, first,
gracefully end the relationship that doesn't benefit me.
okay. Well, first of all, let me help you with part of it real quickly. You didn't end a
Okay.
relationship,
No,
so
sir.
you don't have to feel bad about that. Basically, here's what you said. You said, "I want a relationship with you, but I can only have a relationship if when I say I need some alone time, or when we say we need some marriage time, please respect our privacy for a little while. I I can't have a relationship with you if you don't hear when I need to do something for myself, and if you don't respect that. And if you don't respect that, then this can't work. But I want a relationship with you, but that's kind of one of my conditions, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
they self-selected. They ended the relationship because they didn't want a relationship that was not 100% on their terms.
You're right.
You follow me?
Yes.
Okay. So I would like to hear you begin to say this. When you talk about this scenario, it's sad because my parents ended the relationship with me. I mean, unless you just did something you hadn't told me about. They're the ones that ended it.
No,
You weren't
nothing.
trying to end a huh?
No, I was not
What's that?
trying to end the relationship, just have a little
No.
time, a little
No.
quiet time from the relationship.
Wow. That's in the penal code of every state's law books, right? You want a little time for yourself? You go directly to jail. No, you didn't do anything wrong. So it's hard to not feel guilty when we're internally getting accused, right?
Right.
So you're going to be a new judge in your head that looks out over this courtroom and points the finger over there and says, "No, parents, you're the ones that ended this relationship. She would love to have a relationship with you, but she can't do it if you're not respecting her marriage." So this is what we call in my book, Necessary Endings. I use a term in there to name a chapter. No more Mr. Bad Guy, dot, 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 the magic of self-selection. In other words, you're not a bad guy for saying, here's the way it has to work for me. This is what I need. You're not bad for that. They self-selected out of the relationship because they said, we're not going to have kids that have a life of their own. Okay? Does that help?
Right.
What does that feel like? Does that feel better?
I don't really know. I don't know. It's a very confusing place in life to be because I always thought I had a strong bond with my parents,
You
and now as an
you
adult
do.
realizing that's not the
You
case.
No, 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 no. That is the case. You do have a strong bond. That's the whole problem. See, if you didn't have a strong bond, you wouldn't be feeling anything. So that part's not confusing.
That makes
You
sense.
definitely have a strong bond. The problem is that, there's few ways to bond things, right? You can bond them with a rubber
Mhm.
band, that has some flexibility to it, or you can super glue them where nobody's got any choices. One moves, the other one has to move with it. You have a very strong attachment in the way you describe it to me, because you're very much affected by them. The problem is they're trying to dictate the entire conditions of both sides of a relationship, and that never works.
Right. That makes sense.
What are you thinking? When you think about it that way, that they're the ones that are ending this and you're not, does that feel less guilty?
No, it doesn't, because the fact that we've lost our children and that it would be so easy for them to give up the relationship with their child doesn't resonate with me, because I couldn't imagine
Right. No, no, no,
treating
no.
my children that way.
Okay, see, but you just said what I said. That's really sad.
Right.
That's really sad. You
It is.
can't imagine. But I'm talking about, does the fact that you feel guilty, you started this by saying you need help with the guilt. You just said what I said, that they're the guilty party in this scenario.
Right.
And I'm just asking if you can see, when you begin to see that and you can put the badness on the right side of the fence, does that do anything to give you a little space where, oh, maybe I'm not as bad here as I thought? Can you see where that would begin to create a little bit of a crack there?
I can, yeah.
Okay, now here's why I asked that. The way that happened was what I was talking about previously in the show, that you and I, okay, we're sitting here for a moment, and I bet if you go on Facebook right now, or YouTube, or Instagram, or wherever you're listening, you're going to see a lot
Mhm.
of people telling you the same thing that I've been telling you as they listen to the story. That here's a woman who wants a relationship with her parents, but her parents won't respect her marriage, and everybody would say that's not okay. I mean, God and the Beverly Hillbillies and the hillbillyology people who live up in those hills where you are. Isn't that where they were? No, it's Kentucky. Where were they from? Anyway, everybody would agree with us here. And what you did was you had a conversation with somebody that helps you get, just for a moment, a little bitty space on, you're not the problem in this scenario as you described. They are. Now, here's what I want you to do to answer your question. You've got to get around some people. You said you read the boundaries, like in a good boundaries support group, or codependency group, or Al-Anon group, or something like that, where you have this kind of conversation and you get to see it in other people over and 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 over. And that's going to create all sorts of new wirings in your head where the truth can begin to take root and have really a lot of power. And that other wiring is just going to diminish. But that's the answer, in my view, to your question. And then you have to trade bad for sad. You feel bad? Well, we're going to learn here, no, you're not bad. You're sad. It's really sad that a parent would do that. That's sad. You're not bad. It's sad. That's the way I'd like for you to
It
think
is
about
sad.
it. It is sad. Very sad. Very, very. I cannot imagine. I can't imagine. One of my daughters went through
Thank you.
something like that, and I give them the silent treatment. I can't. Who can imagine that? You're not bad, but you need to get around some people that'll help reinforce that.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, Sarah. I'm sorry you have been through that. Miscarriages they just can be brutal, and so I'm very, very sorry. And go check out Facebook and see what the tribe is saying to you here. I think it'll be helpful to you. And I haven't even seen it. I just know our peeps. and I know they're talking to you.
I
You go
will.
check them out. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your call.